Okay, very good. So, like we spoke about previously, we spoke about that there are um, laws of kosher that don't necessarily have to do with the actual kosher. What does that mean? That means that technically speaking, a food can be kosher, and then there's still other circumstances, there's still other things that can cause a food to quote unquote not be kosher. Okay, so a very common and a very important halacha, which not maybe not everyone is aware of, is something called basal shenitalem min ha'ain. Food or meat, more accurately, this is more true for meat than for anything else. Meat that shenitalem, that like you can say disappeared from the eye, meaning meat that wasn't always supervised. Chachamim said that if there's meat that the goy was in contact with, okay, without being supervised, there's a problem with this, and it's no longer kosher. Okay, this is Darachav Chachamim. Now, in case you were ever wondering, right, when you order from Uber Eats, you order takeout, whatever it is, the hashgacha, normally wherever you're ordering from, the the nohar kashrut, the protocol for the kashrut is that they always have to kind of seal, and they have to tape the whatever it is closed, right? So you're ordering from Uber Eats, and you always see on the Uber Eats, right? They tape that paper bag, that brown paper bag. They always put that tape upon it, right? They also staple it. They put the tape. Why is that? This is for this specific reason, meaning that there's halacha of basal shenitale min ayin, basal meat that wasn't supervised the whole time, even though it's kosher meat, it's not kosher. Now they say there was a story of a guy that he was on the plane, and whatever I guess he was on a flight to Israel, or I don't even know where, but he was on the plane, and he received, when you're on those long distance flights, so you receive like a kind of snack in between. You receive one meal, and then you receive a snack. So the snack that was served, and I remember being served this also. I never really ate it, but I remember that being served. They would serve like a salami sandwich. Okay, they would serve like a type of salami sandwich. And this guy, he gets his sandwich, and he gets up, he goes to wash because he's about to eat bread, and he comes back and he says, "Oh shoots, I remember there's this halacha that basal shenitan min ayin, meat that wasn't supervised the whole time, you can't eat it." And he's thinking to himself, like, come on, like, what like, what could already be? Like, it's impossible, I'm on the plane, like, who's gonna switch? Like, what's going on here? And his neighbor that was sitting next to him, not Jewish guy, he was sitting next to him, and he's like, he sees that this guy is hesitating. He's like, what's up? What's wrong? So he said, like, we have this law that says that meat that wasn't supervised, you can't really eat it. So the guy, he looks at him, and he's like, "Wow, what happened?" So he explained to him. He's like, "Listen, I always heard that kosher food was great. I always heard that kosher food was very good. I never had a chance to taste kosher food. So I saw you get up. I saw you leave your sandwich like that open. So I just took my sandwich and I switched it with your sandwich. I hope that's all right. I hope that's okay. Like, I hope like nothing wrong happened, but that's what happened." And sometimes we think and we say, like, what can already be? Like, what can happen? Like, it's nowadays, it's not the same as the day, like, previous day. Chachamim, when they say halacha, it applies to all generations. It applies for long term. The Chachamim, when they made these rules, right? They didn't have specific, like one particular case in mind. They had a lot of different cases. They had a lot of different scenarios, and they had a lot of experience when they said, when they said their halakha, they had a very strong vision for these things. So we might not be able to see it right in front of us, right? But we have to understand the chachamim know and understand a little bit better than us. And even if it won't apply to us in this particular situation, but what we have to understand is that we can't start making the differentiation. Oh, this is okay, this is not okay, this is okay, this is not okay. Chachamim, when they said it, and that's it. We can't start playing around. Okay.
So it should be sealed twice, and then
Very good. So yes, technically it should be sealed twice.
And seal it back.
Sorry?
Driver can also say, "Oh, let me try the food of the Jewish and change it and seal it back."
Very good. But when it's double sealed, it's already too complicated for them to try something like this out, right? Or if they do try it out,
Meanwhile, I was in the plane and it wasn't sealed so well, and I asked them to change it. I think I remember something like this briefly because I was worried. And I asked them
that
to
again, so when you're getting the food from the plane, before you get it, it's sealed. And in fact,
sealed in my case. So I asked them to change it. I remember this briefly.
yeah, it happens. It happens. And if you pay attention, usually when you get the kosher meals, right? So there's usually a teudat kashrut. There's usually like a sort of kosher certificate in it. And in the kosher certificate, more often than not, it says, do not eat if opened. If the package was unsealed, do not eat it. Right? Because then we run into this problem. Okay. Another very common case that this can come up in is if we're making if you're making a barbecue. Okay. Now this is already like a little bit more complicated in terms of Sfaradim and Ashkenazim when it comes to bishul akum or bishul Israel. Okay. I'm talking now in terms of cooking Be'ezrat Hashem. As we go along, we're going to learn there's differences between bread and the different situations. But in short, when it comes time to cooking, so the Sfaradim happen in this particular case. There are not many cases that the Sfaradim are more strict than the Ashkenazim, but when it gets to the cooking, the Sfaradim are stricter, and they say that in order for it to be called the Bishul Israel, the Jew either has to put it on the fire or make some sort of action in the cooking of the food, as opposed to the Ashkenazim, where for them it's just enough that the Jew turns on the fire. So when you go to a restaurant or something like this, it's always at least for Sfaradim. For Ashkenazim, there's no problem because again, the Hashgacha always makes sure that it's the Jew that turns on the fire. But what they don't do, unfortunately, here in Miami, they don't necessarily cater to this. You can always ask for it on your own, but it's not the standard. If a Sfaradi is going to a restaurant, they should always ask, can the mashgiach please put the food on the fire? Because otherwise it's not going to be called Bishul Isai. Okay? Now, when a person is making a barbecue at home, okay, or an event or something of this sort.
For everyone, because I go to a restaurant, I go to enjoy my meal. I don't need to know deal telling them what to do. This is not right. We need to talk to the supervisor.
They will not change because they are Ashkenazi. They're not going to
because they're ruled by Ashkenazim here. So
what?
okay,
but also only for the food that you cannot eat raw, right?
Very good. So Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to talk about it more when we get to these topics. But again, it's mostly for meat and chicken. This would be the problem. For fish, depends which fish, but like salmon and tuna, which can be eaten raw, there's no problem with these things. Again, we're not gonna go into it too much in detail now. Like I said, I'm just giving a short summary of these things because that's not the topic. But what could happen often is, and I know a lot of people that they do this, what they do is they have a barbecue, right? They have like a small party in their house. They have a small event, whatever it is. It's nothing major, and obviously they don't want to be standing there doing the grill the whole time. So what do? They hire some person to come and to be the grill man, right? It's important. It's important to understand that we always have to have the Jew that is still looking. We always have to have the Jew that is still supervising and making sure everything is okay. Now, what happens, and it's very also possible, right? It's the host, it's someone there. He's not going to stand up on watching this non-Jew the whole day, right? Or if he's Sepharad, it's even more complicated because the Sepharad, they always have to. It has to be the Jew that puts the meat on the fire. It's not enough that he just watches it. So what happens if the Jew is not supervising the guy for a few minutes, right? He goes, he has to go to the bathroom, he has to go in, take care of some guests, whatever it is, and he's out there with the non-Jew. It depends. If he's able to recognize that this is the same meat that he left, okay, since it's a short time, then it's fine. It's not a problem, right? He can continue using it. But if he's not able to recognize this is the same meat, then the meat is no longer kosher. This the case that I'm about to say is something that actually happened in Israel, not one of those stories, but it's the mashgiach told me about this. He said that he was working in a restaurant, and they brought it was a high class restaurant in Israel, and they brought a French chef to man the grill, to be the cook. And the mashgiach, he was in the kitchen, and he's looking, and he sees that the chef was always like hiding something, like he was always like being a little bit suspicious. And he basically goes over to the chef and he asks him like what's going on, like what's happening. And the chef was telling him like, listen, I'm going to tell you a secret, but I don't want you to tell anyone. This is my trade secret. Like, what? He's like, you know why the steak comes out so good, so tasty over here? It's because I take before putting it in, I rub it a little bit with butter, and when I change it, it becomes even when I fry it, it becomes very good. So he obviously he obviously realized that right away it's not kosher, because when he's using the meat, he's using butter to do it with the meat. So it's not kosher. But that's what happens when sometimes you can leave the non-Jew for a few minutes. What can happen is that he can either switch the meat, he can either add some ingredients to the meat that would make it not kosher. So we have to be very careful when it comes to those situations. And if you leave it, he's by you, yes, but when you leave it, you have to still make sure that that you can recognize the meat. If you can't recognize the meat, then it wouldn't be kosher. Okay. Now, another very common situation would be if you have cleaning help at home, right? You have cleaning help at home. You're not at home, right? They come, they're there with your meats, with everything. What would be the halacha in that case? So if a person, again, he has that situation, right? The cleaning lady, the nanny, whatever it is, as long as there's like a back and forth, meaning the owners, the people are going back and forth, so then it would be okay. Okay. As long as the goy knows that it's not long term. If it's going to be long term, then it's a problem, unless he can because sorry, if it's not long term, it's not a problem. Why? Because the non-Jew would always be afraid, especially because it's in his home. He's always afraid if it's going to be coming in and out, and he's not going to know, is he going to come in? He's going to see me switching the meat. He's not going to, so he's not going to touch it. But if he knows that he has a long time and everything is going to be okay, so then that could that can be a problem. Again, that's on the condition that we didn't leave some sort of sign. We didn't leave some sort of difference with the meat that was left uncovered. If the meat is sealed, if it's in the packaging, if it's in the way it is in the store, then there's no problem. There's no problem with any of that, because there's no chance of them switching it and us not recognizing it afterwards. Okay, so Bezrat Hashem, we're going to stop here for today, and Lina, we'll continue this. We'll continue this next class, Bezrat Hashem.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Abitbo. Thank you. Have a beautiful
You're
Shabbat.
welcome. You too.
Back to.
Shabbat shalom. Bye bye.